1930s. Boeing was not a big aerospace company at the time. It was big here in the Seattle area, but on the national stage it wasn't. The big breakthrough product aircraft for the Boeing company was the B-17. They pretty much bet the entire company on that aircraft before World War II, and it ended up saving them. The B-17 was originally built at the Boeing Field here in Seattle, and then as World War II kept going forward, then the B-29 was built. The Defense Department didn't want to have the Boeing company build both aircraft at the same airfield. So the Boeing company then went to a neighborhood city of Seattle called Renton and set up the B-29 line there. And then from the B-29 then, after that came the 707 line, which for commercial aviation, which was pretty much really the rebirth of the Boeing company. All the aircraft that were built in Renton through the years include the 707, 727, 737, and the 757. Which was 757 was produced from the pretty much the late 70s until 2005 is when that line ended. And kind of going back to with the commercial aviation industry exploding through the 50s and through the 60s, Boeing looked and asked their customers, specifically Juan Trippe, about building a wide body aircraft. And the late 60s begot the 747. There was no room at Boeing Field or Renton Field to build a wide body aircraft. So the Boeing company ended up opening up a former Air Force base just north of Seattle, about we'll say a 30-minute drive at Payne Field in Everett, Washington. And that's where the 747 was produced there from the late 60s until it's looking like 2023 is when that line will, or 2023 when the line will finally end. And then launched in the late 70s, early 80s was the 767 line. In the early 90s, you had the 777 line start, and then the early mid 2000s, you had the 787 line start. So that is pretty much what in the Puget Sound, greater Seattle, Puget Sound region is where the Boeing company has had aircraft. They wanted a neutral location for the corporate headquarters, so it wouldn't favor a specific division of the company. They didn't want to put it in St. Louis either, right next to its defense part. They wanted it completely separate for it. They ended up holding a competition. The three came down to three candidate cities: Dallas, Texas, Denver, Colorado, and Chicago, Illinois. And when they filed the flight plan for it, when they made the decision, they announced the flight plan, and it was to Chicago, Illinois. And that was when they signed the agreement. It was a 20-year lease for the company to move away from Seattle to Chicago, Illinois, and they have been there, ever since. Now, what's interesting is this year marks the 20th anniversary of that deal. The Boeing company has not indicated at all whether three things will happen. One, they continue to have corporate headquarters in Chicago, or two, they move it to a new location. Whether that be move it back here to the Seattle region, trying to put more focus back onto its what's been traditionally its biggest money-making division, or I have another reporter, that I trust in, John Ostrauer, has stated that it's another big likelihood that they would move out of Chicago then, if they're going to move, and it would move to Washington, D.C. to follow other aerospace defense primes here in the United States, being Lockheed and Northrop, that have moved out of the California region and have moved to the greater D.C. To be closer to its number one customer, being the United States government. the lease agreement for that tower, the skyscraper tower they're in, is up this year. And the company, what's interesting, Boeing going through very difficult times this last year, not only because of the COVID situation, which is affecting everybody, but also the 737 MAX situation. They have just finally gotten the several airlines now are flying that aircraft again, but they are not. They're not fully up and operational, and they've had a very big cash flow issue. They are doing a major audit of all their real estate holdings, and they recently, as of late this fall, put up the Boeing Commercial Aircraft Division, which is based here in Renton. They put in that property where that's located at up for sale. So no, there's nothing being unturned globally here with the Boeing company, especially here in the United States, as to trying to save money and trying to keep the company, trying to keep the lights on and be able to pay their mechanics and all the employees as to what's going to happen. So we're waiting for them for any type of direction as to what they're going to do about their Chicago headquarters this year. I would expect, hopefully by July, that we'll definitely hear word what the company is going to do with the corporate headquarters.